I only have 2 minutes. You've heard a lot of consumer issues about tonight, so I'll try to be short and sweet, so please bear with me. As you might imagine, we denounce still a lot of consumer issues in telecom markets. Despite progress in the past, there are still too many consumers who face high prices, onerous or unclear contracts, abusive switching, and increasing violations of what we believe should be the right to access the open internet. Now, we welcome the Commission's initiative to try and solve some of these problems, but let me be very honest, we have bittersweet feelings about how the direction we're going on some of the issues. I'm going to address the three most important elements of this proposal from our perspective. Number one, and it has been addressed at length by Mr. Harbour, is the updating the Universal Services and User Rights Directive on which we've worked closely with IMCO. There are certainly very significant improvements that have been inserted into the framework, but we do regret that there are some elements that were left out or are concerned by some potential step spikes that we have here. But that's not our biggest worry. I think overall we've taken a step forward. A second important element is what we've been called geographically dictated rents, where we put under that roaming and cross-border services, the famous Article 21. Let's be honest, we won't have a single market while there's roaming charges and cross-border charges. Many of you have already heard me talk about this, have already heard this statistic about a French consumer that has to pay 6 times more to call Latvia than he or she has to pay to call the US. That's not a single market, is it? We welcome the fact that there seems to be widespread political agreement to end retail roaming. That's very much welcome, but we don't see any overarching will to deal with the other issue, which is the other side of the coin for us, which is why should consumers be in their own home member state and have to worry about whether or not the number they are calling belongs to a different member state or the same? If we want a real single market, let's forget about where the number comes from. But third, and I have to focus on this because it is for us the most important outstanding issue, and I'm happy to see that most of the speakers have addressed it, is the issue of accessing the open internet. Now, discriminatory practices are a reality. I would disagree that we are scaremongering and talking about the future. Both BEREC and the European Commission data have shown that there are still that there are violations, both with blocking and other types of violations. Mr. Viola talked about 100 million consumers who have some services blocked over their internet access service. And that's today. That's not in the future. So we fully agree that there is a need for legislation on this issue, and we have welcomed the Commission's initiative to do that. Because we should avoid experimenting with an open network that has generated so much social and economic value. Now, we would agree that a principles-based, simple approach is fine. It is a regulation, and like Mr. Marby was saying, it then therefore has to be implemented by regulators. But I've been working on this issue for over 2.5 years and very intensively with this proposal for the last 6 months, and I'm still not sure what we talk about when we talk about net neutrality. So let me be very clear, very specific about 4 issues that we think that we're failing to do correctly from our perspective. Number 1, and let me very upfront say we're not against specialized services at all. But all internet content should be delivered over the internet. At the end of the day, it may come down to on which platform should we deliver all this massive traffic data, video traffic that is being on demand, whether it should be on the internet or whether it should be off the internet. Our position is on the internet, to keep it open and neutral, to keep that competitive platform that it is today. Therefore, the defining specialized services and internet access services is crucial. I would fully agree with Mr. Voss when he says that consumers should be the one that chooses the winners and losers over the internet. Fully agree. That's why it cannot be neither policymakers, sure, but neither the access provider. It shouldn't be the telecom company choosing the winner and the loser of an internet service. So why should we have such preferential agreements and start discriminating against competitors? Secondly, and it has also been evoked, the barrier between an internet access service and a specialized service needs to be strongly and clearly defined. Let me give you a very concrete example. Say you have a consumer that has a bundle of services, an IPTV, an internet access service. I have personally heard industry representatives saying that if that consumer switches on the TV, the IPTV, the operator should be allowed to go to the internet access service and throttle the competitors of its TV platform. Now that was shocking to hear, and I hope you will all agree that it's exactly the kind of behavior we're trying to prevent, so that internet access service don't turn into a third world internet. Third, traffic management should be the exception and not the rule, and I hope we all agree there, and that's why paragraph 5 of Article 23 is very important. Yet I have to highlight an important issue. The paragraph only applies when on circumstances within a data cap, but what happens beyond the data cap? That's not clear. For me, this is a bit nonsensical, as it would allow providers of internet access to undertake any discriminatory practices they want for any reason beyond the cap. And last but not least, and we've witnessed many examples of this in the past 2 years, it is no secret that many telecom operators at least have voiced their willingness to be able to apply sender network pays principle. And have voiced their support for Article 19. Now, we very much welcome the deletion of Article 19 because it would precisely allow that kind of revolutionary transformation of the internet. And we welcome the fact that the European Parliament seems to be following that as well. Thank you very much.